actually. I want to watch. No, wait. Whatever. I saw this. This looked interesting.
Sweeping is the worst. There's gotta be a better way. So I gave Swiffer a shot. It's way better. Sweeper's heavy-duty dry cloths.
Oh my god.
For big adventures ahead, the all-electric ID4, a new generation.
No.
Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Lad, and today I watched Matt Reeves' The Batman at Pontifex Speed and found 13 new details that you may or may not have seen before. By the way, it's now 2023 and a great time to set resolutions or intentions for the year ahead. Things like keeping more organized or making sure you're securely browsing the internet using a VPN. There's seriously nothing worse than becoming a victim to an online attack or losing your data because IPVs. And did you know that you can using a VPN helps grant you access to movies, TV shows, or even games? So if you want to try out NordVPN, visit the link in my description or head to nordvpn.com/CanadianLad to get a 2-year plan plus an extra gift. Try it risk-free now with the 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's nothing to lose. Anyway, number 1. At the beginning of the movie, right before we get introduced to Batman. Number 2. When the Riddler goes live with his execution of Officer Coulson, there were a lot of people commenting on the stream. Now all of the comments are in Riddler's favor. Some are even calling him pretty, and some are asking where's the bomb squad at lunch, and some people are talking between themselves where one says the anticipation is killing me, and the reply is, don't you mean the anticipation is going to be killing him? And there are some brutal comments as well, but out of all the comments made on this stream, only one was made against the Riddler, where someone by the username Trust the System says, don't do it, Riddler. I want a free trial, we deserve that. Number 3. When Batman is taken to the police station after this explosion, some spins his cape exactly the way Batman does in the Batman video game Arkham Knight. Here's a side-by-side comparison. This is the first ever cape stun in any of the Batman live-action films. Number 5. When Penguin catches Batman sneaking up on him, he starts shooting Batman and Catwoman. Now notice Batman does catch a bullet on his head, but his helmet of course protects him. He then quickly uses his hand to block the other gunshots, some of which would still make it to his face had he not raised his arm. Now this clears out 2 things for me. 1. Batman does get shot in his face, but his helmet really protects him. And 2. The Penguin has a really good aim. Number 6. After Batman and Gordon interrogate Penguin, they abandon him, still tied up. This results in the Penguin waddling away like an actual penguin.
Shut up.
Number 7. Bruce Wayne keeps track of progress against crime in a diary titled The Gotham Project, and the voiceover near the beginning of the movie turns out to be Batman's thoughts as put down in his journal. Now in Grant Morrison's The Black Casebook, Batman also keeps a record of his cases, so no one can accuse the Dark Knight of not being diligent. And just today, James Gunn has announced The Brave and the Bold, inspired by Grant Morrison's comics. This will be the DCU's new Batman and Robin in this unusual father-son story. Number 8. At the beginning of the film, when Alfred helps Bruce decode one of Riddler's ciphers. Now, if you notice, when Bruce comes towards Alfred, the sunlight directly hits his face, and for a split second, his eyes struggle to adjust to the sunlight. And a subtle piece of move indicates just how much Bruce has lost himself while trying to be Batman. He has been Batman for so long that he hasn't even stepped out in broad daylight as Bruce Wayne, and when he does, it hurts his eyes. This was very good acting from Robert Pattinson. Now, I'd also like to mention the fact that when Pattinson's Batman steps outside in daylight, he's never in his complete Batman costume. He hides his face either with a helmet or a scarf, and wears eyeshade, never the full costume. This is directly taken from Batman Year 1, where he made a point of never wearing the Batsuit except at night. Number 9. When the Riddler is caught by the police in a corner diner, they find several ID cards in his pocket. One of them says Patrick Parker, which is an alias that he also used in the comics. Number 10. When attending the mayor's funeral, Bruce Wayne is seen driving a 1963 Corvette C2. Now in the 70s, popular Batman comic book artist Neil Adams illustrated a Batmobile inspired by his Corvette 11. One of the Riddler's videos reveals that that during Thomas
I'll
Wayne's
give him
mayoral election run,
give him that
reporter
one.
Edward Elliot found out that Gotham State Hospital due to mental illness and
Like,
planned
Martha
to
was
reveal it to the
crazy.
world. But Thomas Wayne, not caring about his political career and only caring about his wife and their son Bruce, went to mobster Carmine Falcone and asked him to put the fear of God into Elliot to keep him from running his story. Now, Thomas Elliot in the comics becomes the killer known as Hush. The movie even has the word Hush over a picture of Elliot when talking about the hush money he refused from Thomas Wayne. This is probably hinting at his son appearing in the future to take revenge on Bruce Wayne for the sins of his father. Number 12. The green substance Batman injects in himself
What
in
a
order
green-
to save Selina, which causes him to seemingly grow more powerful, has a striking similarity to the drug
It's not
Venom.
tight-
Now, a
it's
Batman
not
villain
Titan.
Bane also uses a similar substance to increase his ferocity and strength. Number 13.
It's not
Now, this
Venom,
one is my
though. It's-
favorite
it's
detail from the film.
it's not.
If it's apartment window. But what if I tell you the fact that Edward Nashton lived here, just across the street from the Iceberg Lounge, was already revealed in the 31st minute of the movie? That's right, when Selina takes a taxi home, we get a wide shot of the scene. And there, if you pay attention, you'll be able to see Edward Nashton taking photos of the Iceberg Lounge. So if you think about
Son
it,
of a
had
bitch.
Batman investigated these pictures enough, and had he tried to figure out where exactly Riddler took these photos from, the movie would have been over in 30 minutes, and Batman would have been the best detective in the world.
He
And there
wasn't
are a few
thinking
more
it.
details
He
that I
wasn't
noticed,
thinking
which
of
aren't
it.
exactly visual details, but very crucial points of the film that makes this movie one of the best Batman movies ever made. And for me, one of the best part of this film is when criminals stare down a dark alley in fear, expecting Batman to appear like a monster from a horror movie. In fact, Batman says it himself in the movie, and I quote, "They think I'm hiding in the shadows,
But I am
watching,
the
waiting
shadows."
to strike. I am the shadows."
Sorry.
Come to think of it,
Didn't
this
say
is the
but,
first
he
ever
said, "I
Batman
am
movie
the
where Batman never really fought the main villain one-on-one. But 90% of the audience don't realize that. That's how good the story was in this film.
She-Hulk
it didn't
is
require a
absolutely
scene where Batman
trash
fights
from
Riddler.
Marvel,
Now, although the
sorry.
Riddler goes after corrupt officials, he also thinks Gotham should be cleansed for
It was
its
alright.
sins, which is why he bombs the seawall, flooding the
I like strong
entire
women.
city. It's a
It
bold
was
move
fine.
because it has huge ramifications for Batman Part 2, and Matt Reeves, the director of the film, took inspiration for this from 2013's Batman Zero Year Comics, where the Batman at the start of his crime-fighting career
I
has
wanna
to
read some
deal with the
comics.
Riddler,
I
who
wanna-
floods Gotham by blowing
do
up the
the Dead
reservoir.
Space
And that's
comic.
it. This would be my breakdown of Matt Reeves' The Batman. Now, if you like the details I just showed you, please give me a thumbs up, grab the subscribe button, and turn notifications on.
Canadian.
Till then, I'll see you lads in the next one.
So you say the next one. See, like I enjoyed that. That was those kinds of breakdowns are cool. I'm sorry, that's. Okay, my toothpick in. Apologies. I want to see more stuff. You play too much Batman Arkham Knight. I've seen some dudes rank up some combos in that game. It's insane. I get impatient. It's not that I suck. I just. Ooh, okay. He's got me.
With New Cascade Platinum Plus, you can load this.
He's got me hooked. I want to see what what he's talking about. Oh man, some goldfish. Oh, it's back. He's back.
Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian Land, and today I've watched Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight at 0.25x speed and found 30 new details that he might have missed at regular speed. So without any further ado, let's begin. Number 1. The movie begins with the camera slowly panning into the Joker's mask, but here's a detail that I never imagined I would see in a DC film. Pay close attention to this poster. This is literally the poster of Spider-Man 3, and here's a behind-the-scene photo of Heath Ledger that gives us a more clear view at this poster. Number 2.
Son
When
of
the
a
Joker
bitch.
is done robbing this bank, he leaves a smoke grenade in literally the mouth of the bank manager. And this grenade has a string attached to it all the way to the Joker's jacket. But notice just before the Joker takes out his grenade, we could already see his jacket is frayed with one single longer string. This means he had already planned to smoke the bank out. He didn't just do it because the bank manager interrupted him. It was part of his plan the entire time.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
Number 3. During the scene when the
God,
mayor was
I
giving a
love this
speech,
movie.
everyone was trying to find the Joker because he said he will kill the mayor. And moments later, the Joker actually
not
attempts to shoot
the
the
emo
mayor. But
thing,
notice,
it's a
a minute
compression
before the
glove,
shooting
'cause
takes
I'm
place,
old
in
and
this
my
wide
hands
shot
hurt
of the
in the
parade,
cold.
the Joker and his
It's a
accomplice
compression
can
glove.
clearly be seen standing in the firing squad without
Compression glove.
anyone having to bat an eye. Number 4. When the Joker fires an RPG from a trailer, notice that both sides are open, and if it wasn't the case, everybody
back
on board
blast.
would have been injured by the back blast. Number 5. If you watch the Joker interrogation
That
scene
would've
in
been funny,
25x
actually.
speed, you'll briefly see the camera crew in the reflection of the mirrored windows.
Ah, come on, nitpicking. Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed.
Now,
anxious.
before I dive
Shut up.
into my next point, I'd like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community that often encourages
Sorry,
help from
I don't
access and
wanna.
learn months of your creative. Skillshare to The Joker makes the first 2 months are absolutely free. Moving on.
Anyway.
Number 6. The Joker makes the Batman choose between Harvey and Rachel and actually explains to Batman that he's going to have to choose who dies.
Christian
Pay
Bale.
attention to his words. The Joker doesn't say choose the one to save, but he says killing is a choice and you should choose the one to.
Oh, really? You can't say that? Is that...
So by
that
choosing Rachel,
real?
thinking he'll be saving her, Batman has actually
God,
chosen her to
man.
die. Number 7. The Joker asked Commissioner Gordon what's the time, to
You
which
two's
the
really-
Commissioner simply replies, what difference does it make?
What's the time?
Sorry, I'm just always checking my stream.
Well, depending on the time, he may be in one spot or several.
Notice the Joker does manage to get a peek
One
of the
spot or
Commissioner's
several.
watch to figure out how much time he has left until the timers of the bombs run out. Number 8. The first time Harvey Dent is doing something illegal, which is threatening someone at gunpoint, notice that only half of his face is lit, foreshadowing his transformation into Two-Face later on in this movie. Now there might be some people who may think this is incidental, have no idea how a movie is made. Almost everything in a movie is intentional. Every aspect has been discussed. They don't just show up in set and accidentally put shadows on actors' faces. Number 9. During the courtroom scene,
Calm down,
Harvey
man.
Dent
No one's
tells
accusing
Maroney,
you.
if you want to kill a public servant, I suggest you buy American.
Carbon fiber, 28 caliber, made in China. If you want to kill a public servant, Mr. Maroney, I recommend you buy American.
God, I hated.
The
I
first
hated him
person
so
Dent
much. He's
kills
so
is
like
a public
American,
servant, and he kills
arrogant.
him with a Smith &
You know
Wesson
what I
Model
mean?
64, a classic
get some-
American revolver.
get some
So when
water,
Harvey
actually.
Dent suggested an American gun to kill a public servant, he really meant it. Number 10. When the police empty the Joker's pocket, there's a vegetable peeler among the knives. And my favorite part is the officer hesitates for half a second before placing it with the rest of the weapons because he's not sure if it counts as a weapon. Well, the Joker,
Joker
did
be
say
peeling
that
them
guns were
vegetables?
too quick.
He be peeling them. He be peeling them cucumbers.
Guns are too
Them carrots.
You can't savor all
Little emotions.
emotion. You see, in their last moments, people show you who they really are.
So I'm guessing a vegetable peeler would be a way to savor it. And you might as well have a nice conversation while you literally take off the skin of your victim, I guess, you know? So. Number
I mean,
11.
it's the Joker.
Batman
What
gets
do you
mauled
think
by
he's
dogs in his
doing?
left arm at
Not
the
having tea
beginning of
with
this
them.
movie. And later on we see Alfred
Mad
stitching
Hatter.
it.
Did you get mauled by a tiger?
It's a big dog.
This was continued to the next movie, The Dark Knight Rises, where Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne
bro,
has a
it's called
scar on the same
continuity.
spot. Number 12. When
called
Commissioner
continuity,
Gordon
you
holds
know?
the Joker's mugshot from the security camera, the number displayed is the exact date when this movie was released on July 18th, 2008. Number 13. Right before the Joker gets thrown against the glass, you can notice him smiling with a look of pure acceptance and confidence that he is truly breaking down Batman.
He's
this
like,
actually draws quite a parallel
I don't
between
know.
Thanos and Joker, because even Thanos smiled when he saw his future self getting decapitated by the Avengers. And I guess that's why they're such great villains, because no matter what you do, they're always ready to accept their worst case scenario. And a villain that does not have the fear of death or any physical pain, how exactly do you defeat him? And that's why both Thanos
Give him
and
a kiss
Joker
on the
actually
mouth.
managed to win to some extent.
the mouth.
Number 14. In this particular scene, Joker tries to provoke Detective
Or you kill
Stevens
him
in
like,
order to
Batman
escape
should
from
have
his
done.
cell, and he successfully does it
He's a
as well by
psychopath.
pointing a
No.
broken glass to his neck. But notice that Joker already knew there were broken pieces of glass behind him, and that's why he was sitting exactly there. Number 15. Whenever the Joker says a joke, nobody's laughing. But when he says something serious, everybody laughs.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
How much you want?
Half.
Half. You're crazy. I'm not.
And the new
I
Joker
love how,
movie
like,
starring
he
Joaquin
didn't
Phoenix
like
also
when they
has
called
some
him
very
crazy, he
similar
was like,
scenes.
When I was a little boy and told people I was going to be a comedian, everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
Number 16. There's one very particular scene
That
that
movie
this
was
movie
hard
has
to
common
watch.
with its
Like, it
predecessor
was
Batman Begins.
sad.
In both movies, after a major character
disturbing.
dies, Alfred offers Bruce something to eat, and then Bruce ignores him while crying, but then acknowledges him as he leaves.
Want some nummy nummies, Bruce?
Very well.
I'm a child, Alfred. I'm miserable. Like, I don't want macaroni and cheese right now. Jesus Christ.
Handgun skip.
Right here, he's like, what, 35-year-old man?
Number 17. When the Joker
Still
confronts
miserable.
Harvey Dent in the hospital, notice he still has white paint on his fingers. This is probably because he keeps reapplying his makeup throughout the film. This can also be seen in various
Man,
other
look at his
scenes,
nails.
but
This
very
boy got
briefly.
bag
Number
lady
18.
nails.
After exploding the entire hospital, the Joker gets into the school bus. But if I slow it down and zoom in, you can clearly see there's a camera inside the school bus. However, the footage recorded using that camera never made it to the final cut. Number 19. Joker keeps using the shotgun throughout the film, but after this rewatch, I actually figured out how he got this gun. This is the same gun that the bank manager had at the beginning of the movie. So Joker not only put a smoke grenade in his mouth, but also took his gun that he kept using throughout the film. Number 20. When Bruce Wayne grabs Harvey to take him to the panic room, despite
She
not
said,
being in
"What are you
costume, Bruce
doing?"
instinctively switches to his Batman voice and warns Rachel that the Joker has come for Harvey.
Hate it when a car freshener hits you with an overwhelming blast of perfume?
I forgot what he said
Febreze
there.
car
He's
vent
just
clips
like,
work differently. Febreze gives you consistent freshness that starts.
Squarespace
Oh,
is a website
my boy
that
Adam
makes
Driver.
websites.
Squarespace is a website that makes
Number
websites.
21. When Batman has to extract Lau
Peak
from his
cinema.
office, he sets a couple of bombs with a
crap.
timer of 2
Can you calm
minutes
down?
and 30 seconds. And after
Sorry.
watching this scene in slow motion, I played it again in regular speed. And guess what I found? It exactly takes 2.5 minutes for the bombs to explode. Talk about the fixation Christopher Nolan has with time.
Wait,
Number
what?
22. At the
What-
beginning
what?
of the
I
film,
didn't
the
get that.
fixation I found. And after watching office, he sets a couple of bombs with the timer of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And after watching this scene in slow motion, I played it again in regular speed. And guess what I found? It exactly takes 2.5 minutes for the bombs to explode. Talk about the fixation
okay.
Christopher Nolan has with
made-
time.
it was
Number
real
22.
time,
At the
yeah,
beginning of the film, one of the robbers gets shocked by the electrified bank vault. So in the next scene, we see that he has his rubber-soled sneakers on his hands to insulate himself from the electricity. 23.
Bro, I caught
Coleman
that when I was
Reeves
a
finds out
child.
Batman's true identity
It's a cool
with very
detail.
little effort, just like the Riddler has in the comics.
I went down to the archives and I started pulling some old files. You don't tell me you didn't recognize your baby out there.
Pancakey cupcakes.
Evening news. What do you
That guy's annoying.
rocket
Coleman Reese.
I want $10 million a year for the rest of my life.
This is probably a nod to the villain, the Riddler. Number 24. Joker tells Batman that Harvey Dent is
Is
being
it?
held at 250 52nd Street.
He's at 250
Second Street.
If you write it down, this address contains the phrase 50-50, and both Harvey and Rachel have a 50-50 shot at surviving. And we know that it was actually Rachel and not Harvey who was being held at 250 52nd Street. So Batman gets punished for choosing himself over justice and proves Joker's point. Because had Bruce thought about actual justice, he would have gone to save Harvey, and as a result he would have saved Rachel, the love of his life. But because he chose love over justice, it literally cost him Rachel. Batman then later redeems himself by sacrificing himself for Dent, because now he understands the value of justice. Now the next 6 details are all sort of trivia from this film, and I think you lads will enjoy it as well. So here it goes. Number 25. This famous Joker pencil scene was shot in 2 days and needed a total of 22 takes because Nolan decided to stage the stunt for real, with the stuntman moving away the pencil at the last minute, and the stuntman apparently had 3 knockouts while filming this scene. 26. Christian Bale said in an interview that during the interrogation scene, Heath Ledger wanted him to beat him as hard as he could to get the real feeling of what was required from the scene. 27. The delay in the hospital explosion was not a fluke, even though there were still rumors that it was.
No, I remember that. I was so excited because
it was always part of the script, and Heath Ledger practiced the Joker's reaction very thoroughly before they did it for real.
I was so excited
28.
for this movie.
Bruce Wayne drives a Lamborghini Murcielago in the scene where he saves Coleman Reese from an oncoming truck. Now the word Murcielago is Spanish for bat. 29. The scene with the tumbler versus the garbage truck was filmed with 1/3 scale miniatures. Number 30. Batman tells Lucius that the sonar device is null key encrypted.
The database is null key encrypted. It can only be accessed by one person.
This was added as a joke since it actually means there is no encryption. And that's it. These are my findings from the rewatch of Dark Knight, and I hope I was able to give you at least a few new details through this video. And don't worry, I'm certainly not switching to DC, but I watched this movie in slow motion mostly because of Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale, and Heath Ledger, who in my perspective are...
Alright, you lost me there. I'm not switching to DC. Bruh, just like all of it, like... It's all there for your enjoyment. Like, don't pick sides, buddy. Like, who cares? Who cares? Y'all people need to chill with that, honestly. It doesn't matter. We're all nerds. One thing I saw in this was when Joker gives, the pistol, the finger on the hammer thing. Yeah, I know. There's a detail I figured out. When Rachel was talking to Lau, he says, money is the only reason I'm still alive. Later in the film, Lau remains on top of the huge... My hand hurts! Lau remains on top of the huge stack of money Joker has before burning it all, resulting in Lau's death. Oh, the play on words. That money is the only reason he's alive. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. You people are funny. When Joker says something funny, nobody laughs. So when Joker says something serious, everybody... Man, that's hella relatable. Yeah. When Christopher Nolan is there, why do I feel like everything's over here? Jeez, imagine looking at the camera and that pillow's... I thought it was like Batman standing there. He's gonna beat my ass. Oh shit. Batman's just gonna come and beat my ass. I watched Spider-Man No Way Home in 0.25 speed. Why are you doing this to yourself, buddy? Why are you doing this? Like, nobody's asking you to watch these movies at 0.25. You missed Joker's perfect money stack throw on Lau's face when he was on top of the pile of cash. No, that was funny. Complete Terminator timeline. Oh, okay. Can I watch this one? I want to watch this one. Oh, my tummy growled. Naughty Dog's game design is outdated. Oh, you're an idiot. If only all DC movies were done like The Dark Knight. Hey. The DC Cinematic Universe has just recently imploded. It's going away, and it's kind of stupid. Nope. No, it's not the last movie. The last movie would be the Flash movie, but it really sucks. No, sorry, and Aquaman. So we're okay. We have something good. It does suck though that Shazam 2 is in that lineup because those movies. Oh, I have to be nice, right? Those movies they do not tickle my fancy. I don't like them. Do with that what you will. I don't like them. They're I know people work hard on this stuff. I'm not an actor. Can't do that. But I mean, come on, when you're working on a movie, it's like when you're doing a report for school, right? Or a project. And you know it sucks. You know it's bad, right? You know, you're like, I could be doing a lot better work, and this is really, really bad. And you're really disappointed with yourself, but you just need to turn it in and get like a B or a C. You just want to get it done because you hate the assignment. That's what Shazam feels like. That's what a lot of the DC movies feel like. I'm a fan of like Man of Steel. Yeah, the Zack Snyder Justice League and Batman v Superman. Okay, I love those. Okay, I'm a fool. I even loved Wonder Woman. Not the second one. The second one was too much. This is too much. I don't know. But Wonder Woman in those two movies, Batman v Superman and her own first movie, she was wonderful. Gal Gadot is wonderful. I love her as Wonder Woman. It sucks that that's all over. Whatever. We still have the movies. They can't take that from us. They can't take it from us. I think they're great. Thor, the Broken God. That game's fun. Everything wrong with The Dark Knight Rises, 24 minutes. Stop hurting me. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I love The Dark Knight Rises, and I think it's better than The Dark Knight because I think Bane, Tom Hardy, is amazing. Fight me. Fight me.
I used to pre-rinse dishes because my old detergent.
Fight me. Fight me, dish lady. Pre-rinse those dishes. Just with your green cardigan. Oh my god. It's the internet. It's just ads.
Suggestions can offer a more personal.
So many ads.
If you're a follower of this channel, then you know I'm a fan of two things: sci-fi and explaining complicated things. So I've always thought it'd be fun to rewatch all the Terminator movies and see how they fit together. So if you're a fan of brain-twisting time travel theories like I am, stick around.
Fortunately,
but first, in case I need to say it, consider this your spoiler warning for all 6 Terminator movies from 1984 to 2019. When we think of time...
Wait, you're counting... No, he's counting the really, really stupid ones. Strap in, folks. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Imagine a straight line moving from past to future. When we think of time travel, we often imagine that someone or something can travel from the future to the past and therefore create a new future, which either replaces the original or creates an alternate one. But the original Terminator back in 1984 looked at things a little differently. In that movie, there is mention of alternate futures, but we don't see any evidence of them. Instead, we see that if you travel to the past, you don't change the future, you play out your destiny.
So stupid.
You take the actions necessary to ensure the future you came from exists in the first place. Confused? Well, let's go through the events of the movie so it makes more sense.
His name? Kyle Reese.
The movie tells us that sometime in the future, humanity develops artificial intelligence for their defense networks called Skynet. The AI quickly evolved, came to see all people as a threat, and decided to wipe us off the face of the earth.
I love the Alien series.
It's not explicitly stated in the first movie, But
Fantasy
Terminator
and sci-fi.
2
I
explains
love it.
that it accomplished this by firing American nuclear missiles at Russia. Russia returned fire, ultimately
I love this
leading
scene. She
to
said,
nuclear
on the
holocaust.
gate. She
In
said,
the post-apocalyptic world,
Like Aaron
humans
Andre?
are outnumbered by
Was it
machines and hunted by
Aaron
them.
Andre? Eric
In
Andre?
2029,
Let me in.
Skynet's most recent innovation is the Terminator, an infiltrator
It's
unit
Arnold.
built to look human. They can sneak behind enemy lines and do what they do best: kill. Despite this ultimate weapon, John Connor's leadership leads the few remaining humans to victory. They take down Skynet's defense grid and mainframe, but the machines have one last trick left up their sleeves: time displacement equipment, a time machine. They send a Terminator, a Model T-800, back in time to 1984 to kill John Connor's mother, Sarah Connor, preventing his birth and preventing his leading humanity to victory. But right after the Terminator goes through the
Sarah
machine,
Connor was cute.
John Connor and his men find it and are able to use it themselves. Before the machine is destroyed, they only have time to send one man through: Kyle Reese. Why him? Kyle always
Bale's
looked up
my
to
John
John
Connor.
and spent years listening to stories about John's mother, the mother who trained John to become a warrior and a leader. Kyle even had a small photo of Sarah, given to him by John. Over the years, Kyle looked at that photo and found himself falling in love with this woman he never met. So, when the opportunity came to put his life on the
Understandable.
line to protect her, of course Kyle would volunteer. In 1984,
look
Kyle
like
and Sarah
Mark Hamill
spend
right there
only a
for some
couple of
reason.
days together, but in that time, fighting the Terminator together, Kyle's feelings become mutual, and the two make love. He also gives her a message that John made him memorize, a message that would give Sarah courage to fight.
They went to
Sarah,
Funky Town.
thank you for your courage through the dark years. I can't help you with what you must soon face, except to tell you that the future is not set. There is no such thing as fate, but what we make for ourselves by our own will.
And yet that
You
movie
must
is
be
called
stronger than
Dark
you
Fate.
imagine you can be. You must survive, or I will never exist. I should note, the line, "There is no such thing as fate, but what we make for ourselves by our own will," appears in the script, but didn't make it into the final cut of the film. However, future movies, including T2, reference it, so it essentially became canon. Ultimately, Kyle sacrifices his life to save Sarah, and she strikes the final blow to kill the T-800, ensuring her survival. Soon, Sarah learns that she is pregnant with Kyle's child, a son she will name John Connor. As she goes on the
John
run to
Connor.
stay off the grid, she records tapes for her future child, giving John advice and telling him everything she learned from Kyle.
She was a YouTube
And
star?
she has her photo taken, a photo she will go on to give John, which he will give Kyle, planting the seeds for Kyle to fall in love with Sarah, leading
the
to John's
dog.
existence.
No one talks about
So,
the
did they
dog.
change the future? Like I said up front, it seems they didn't.
That's Palmdale.
Instead, their actions only ensured the
I know where
future
that
Kyle
is.
came from existed in the first place. John sent Kyle back in time. Sarah quickly fell in love with him, and they created John. After the traumatizing events of the first
Ew.
movie, Sarah is determined to train John and prepare him for his future role as a leader. As a result, he's ready to become the legendary
dog,
John
though.
Connor,
I want
who
the
gives
dog.
Kyle a photo of his mother and leads humanity to victory. Then a T-800 is sent back
They
in
always
time.
pick, like,
So John sends Kyle after it to protect Sarah.
non-inspiring John
Kyle and Sarah
Connor
create John,
people.
etc.
Like,
It's an endless
Christian
loop.
Bale was
The
John
future
Connor.
we
He
are
was-
told about, with John Connor leading the fight against Skynet, can only exist if John sends Kyle
boy
back in
naked.
time. So in this story, we go to the past not to change the present or future, but to preserve it. And by this movie's rules, it's unclear if they even can be changed. Or would your actions always lead to the sort of causal loop we just talked about, where future events inexplicably and paradoxically link to past events in a chain with no beginning or end? Like I mentioned earlier, though, there is a mention of alternate futures. When Sarah asks Kyle if he's from the future, Kyle responds, "One possible future, from your point of view." Sometime after the events of the Terminator, Sarah Connor does
fucking
try
with
to
their
change
heads,
the
huh?
future. In her son's early years, she finds anyone she can who knows anything about weapons, fighting, or other skills John will need in the future. Sarah makes sure that she and John learn from these people and train to
Be
become
like, hey, John, your
warriors.
mom's cute.
In this movie, we learn that Skynet's system goes online
glasses were
August
dope.
4th, 1997, and becomes self-aware
dope
at
glasses.
precisely 2:14 a.m. Eastern Time on August 29th, 1997, a day that became known as
August
Judgment Day.
29th,
On that day,
1997,
Skynet launches
Skynet
the nuclear
becomes
missiles which
self-aware.
bring on the apocalypse. Eventually, Sarah decides that she doesn't want to just
Launching
train
several
John for inevitable
thermonuclear
war.
warheads. I don't know if
Instead, she begins to wonder
That girl
if
getting
perhaps
swole?
the future can be changed. She blows up a computer company's headquarters, but gets
she
arrested in the
naked?
process and ends up imprisoned at Pescadero State Hospital,
Pescadero?
leaving John with foster parents.
Oh,
In
man.
1995,
Dude,
2 years
when
before
the
Judgment
parents-
Day,
when his
another
foster parents
Terminator
get
arrives
killed,
from the future.
that used to
This one is a
fuck
more
me up as a
advanced
kid.
T-1000 model, made of
know?
mimetic polyalloy or liquid metal. After
Liquid
failing to
metal.
kill Sarah Connor, Skynet goes for Plan B.
My boy was
Kill John
badass.
Connor while he's still a vulnerable 10-year-old. But in the future, the humans manage to capture a T-800, reprogram it to protect John, and send it back in time to
And it just
1995.
happened to be Arnold
With the T-800's
Schwarzenegger.
help, Sarah and John evade the T-1000. But survival
Give me
is
your
not
boots.
enough for Sarah.
No, what did he
She
say?
continues to
Give
think
me your
about
clothes,
something
your boots,
Kyle
and your
Reese told her.
motorcycle.
The future is not set. There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. She will change the future, starting with understanding it. She asks the T-800 about
pulling the
Skynet's
bullets out of him?
origins and learns that it all starts with a man named Miles Dyson, director of special projects at Cyberdyne Systems.
wish
He
we could
creates
hear Arnold
AI
talk.
defense
I
systems,
love Arnold.
which become Skynet,
Love him.
leading to Judgment Day. The kicker,
smoked
he's only
stogies.
able to develop the
Then he had a heart
technology
attack, right?
by studying 2 parts of the
Don't
T-800
smoke
that
stogies,
survived
kids.
the first movie. Its one surviving arm and its processor chip. Another paradox. It seems Skynet could only be created thanks to the arrival of a T-800 from the future. If we rewind all the way back to
Makes
before
sense.
the time displacement machine was created, how could Skynet even exist to have a T-800 to send back in
So like a
time in the
self-fulfilling
first
prophecy
place?
over and
There
over.
is no
Paradox,
beginning or
stupid.
end.
Sorry.
The T-800 is sent to 1984, destroyed, and its remnants are used to create Skynet. In 2029,
Sorry about
that same
buzz.
T-800 is built and sent to 1984 again. Again, it is destroyed, and its remnants are used to create Skynet, continuing the endless chain of Skynet creating itself over and over. However, Sarah Connor is determined to break this endless chain, so she goes after Miles. John and the T-800
butt.
stop her from killing the family
Arnold
man,
butt.
and they instead tell Miles the truth. They win him over to their side, and he works with them to destroy his life's work. In the battle with
like
their
that.
T-1000 foe, Miles even sacrifices his own life to destroy that research, in the hopes of preventing Judgment Day. Finally, they melt the T-1000 in molten metal, followed by the arm and microchip, followed by the good T-800 that protected John and Sarah. I'll give you a second if you need to grab a tissue. Hey, if it's not okay to cry when that T-800, the closest thing John ever had to a father, gives that thumbs up as he melts, when is it okay? So, do they succeed in stopping Judgment Day? Do they change the future? Well, in the theatrical cut, Terminator 2 leaves it ambiguous.
Eddie Furlong.
It ends with narration from
believe
Sarah
that.
calling the future
Jack,
unknown for the first time, but looking ahead with hope. After watching the T-800 learn to care for John and learn the value of human life, she begins to think, maybe we can too. In the original cut, we see a future with an older Sarah Connor stating that Judgment Day passed with no incident. In that version, it would seem they succeeded. By the way, if you like time loop paradoxes, the no fate line is another one. In Terminator 1, we first hear it when Kyle gives it to Sarah as a message from future John. In Terminator 2, we learn that Sarah passed on this message to young John. So, who came up with the no fate quote? No one did. Child John heard it from Sarah, who heard it from Kyle, who heard it from future John, who heard it as a child from Sarah, who heard it from Kyle, and so on. And if the idea of a bootstrap paradox, the name for these causal loops, doesn't sit right, you can always subscribe to what I call Gill's slinky interpretation of time travel. Rather than time as a circle, where past events lead to future events, which lead back to the same past events in a forever loop, think of time as a slinky. Every time you go back to the past, it's not at the start of the same loop, but at the start of a new loop, as if you were gliding along a slinky from one loop to another. And as you move along that slinky, you can bring information with you, like a temporal game of telephone. So maybe in one loop, someone did come up with the no fate line, and then in that temporal game of telephone, John Connor sent Kyle Reese back in time with it. In the next loop, it would appear as a bootstrap paradox. John essentially learned the quote from himself, meaning it went from future John to Kyle to Sarah to past John. But it becomes less paradoxical if you think of them as two separate Johns. John Connor, from a prior loop where he first learned the quote, passes it on to John Connor in the next loop. Anyway, moving along that slinky, we get to Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, where things get darker. Sarah Connor gets leukemia, but fights to live another 3 years, just long enough to make it past August 29th, 1997, and see for herself that the world does not end. Every day after this one is a gift, she tells John. We made it. We're free. But in 2004, John learns she was wrong. Somehow, Skynet comes to be again, and again, they send one of their Terminators after him. This one is a TX, or Terminatrix. Similar to the T-1000, it uses mimetic polyalloy, but it's not fully liquid metal. Instead, it has a layer of the stuff over an endoskeleton, and it's been designed with the ability to reprogram other machines, making it very capable of killing other Terminators and a formidable foe for the T-800 sent to protect John. That's right, another T-800 has been reprogrammed in the future and sent back. Though he isn't just sent to protect John, but also his future wife, Catherine or Kate Brewster. In fact, she's the one who sent the T-800 back in time. Why didn't John send it? Because he was dead, killed by the very same T-800 in 2032. After the T-800 killed John, Kate and the Resistance were able to reprogram it, then send it to 2004. Although John and Kate hardly know each other, circumstance brings them together just as the T-800 finds them. As they talk, Kate reminds John of the time they made out in Kripke's basement in 8th grade, the day before John disappeared and went off the grid, the day before the events of Terminator 2. After Terminator 2, how has Skynet survived? It seems that, yes, John and Sarah changed the future, but they didn't stop Judgment Day. All they did was delay it by 7 years. Kate's father, General Robert Brewster, heads the Skynet project, taken over by the U.S. Air Force after Cyberdyne Systems' destruction. Without the remnants of the T-800 from 1984, it took almost a decade longer, but they still managed to develop the AI technology that would eventually destroy humanity. In fact, Skynet's nuclear holocaust is mere hours away. With this new information, John, with Kate's help, decides he'll take another crack at saving the world. They're going to get to Kate's father and stop Skynet. Meanwhile, Kate's father leads the struggle against the computer virus spreading throughout their defense systems. Unable to stop it, General Brewster is ordered to activate Skynet, hoping the powerful AI can stop the virus. Although hesitant, he flips the switch, and too late, learns that the virus was Skynet. It was the beginning of the AI waking up and taking over. Just then, John, Kate, and the T-800 arrive. But so does the TX. Kate's father is killed in the battle, but with his dying breaths, he tells them where to find the Skynet system core. They fly to the secret base with enough explosives to destroy it. The TX finds them there, but the T-800 sacrifices himself to destroy her. Inside the base, they don't find the system core or anything resembling it. All they find is a fallout shelter, meant to protect VIPs. Skynet has no system core. Its software is running on thousands of computers around the world. It's not something you can just blow up. Kate's father knew that, and in his death, lied, so John and Kate would go to this place to be protected from the impending nuclear holocaust. John and Kate hold hands as the missiles launch, and together, they survive Judgment Day. So, Terminator 3 seems to tell us that we can change the future, but it also seems to subscribe to the idea that humanity is destined to destroy itself, or at least come very close to doing so. It seems like a given that we will eventually develop AI powerful enough to learn, evolve, make decisions, and grow beyond our control. What will the AI do next? Well, in the world of Terminator, it seems that AI is always destined to come to the same decision. We all need to die. In Terminator Salvation, we finally spent some time post-Judgment Day in 2018. Kyle Reese is still a child, growing up in the harsh apocalypse, pining to join the Resistance. John Connor is an important part of the Resistance, viewed as a prophesied leader by some and overzealous fighter by others. And he's joined by his wife and confidant, Kate Connor, formerly Kate Brewster. Where every previous film has a fish out of water in the form of men or machines transported to the past, this film features a man transported to the future. In 2003, Marcus Wright is on death row, but on the day of his execution, he agrees to donate his body to Cyberdyne Systems for what he believes is a noble cause. After the lethal injection, Marcus's body is used to create a cyborg, one that is entirely machine except for his brain and heart. 15 years later, he wakes up to an unfamiliar apocalyptic world looking for a second chance, where he runs into the young Kyle Reese. The two become friends, and Marcus helps Kyle survive a few close calls, until the boy is captured by a...
watching that, you know? That's my favorite movie, though. My favorite Terminator. Like, it's great to me.
We don't see any actual time travel in the movie. It does play a factor. John Connor listens to Sarah Connor's tapes, filled with advice and information about the war. The same tapes we saw her starting to record back in 1984. The human resistance also intercepts a message from Skynet, indicating their #1 target is Kyle Reese. Skynet knows if they kill him as a child, he can't go back in time, and John will never be born. In the course of the film, the human resistance makes two major discoveries. First, a secret frequency that can easily take down the machines. 2, Marcus. When John meets the cyborg, he is very distrustful and assumes Marcus is more machine than man, that he's working for Skynet. Eventually, Marcus gains John's trust by saving his life, then leads him to Skynet Central, where they can rescue Kyle. Marcus has no trouble getting past the security, which sees him as a machine. Unfortunately, both major discoveries turn out to be part of Skynet's plan. The secret signal was something they leaked. When the humans blasted the frequency, it gave away their location, and Skynet blew up many of the resistance leaders. Marcus was also part of Skynet's plan. Although he himself thought he was fighting for humanity and had no intention of helping Skynet, his actions brought John Connor and Kyle Reese right to them. Skynet tells him all this and expects Marcus now to join their cause. But he woke up in this world looking for a second chance to do good, and he decides to continue fighting with humanity. He rejects Skynet, helps save John and Kyle, and helps to blow up the facility where Kyle was being held. However, John does not leave the battle unscathed. While in the facility, he ran into an old friend, an early prototype for what will eventually become the T-800. The machine, called a T-Rip, gives John his trademark scar and stabs him through the chest with a steel bar. Knowing John's importance to the Resistance and humanity's survival, Marcus sacrifices himself to save him. Back at base, they determine a heart transplant as the only way to save John, so Marcus willingly gives up his own. So, no time travel in this movie. But like Terminator 2, it does have an alternate future, in the form of an original ending that was shot but replaced before the film's release. Unlike Terminator 2, which had an alternate, more optimistic ending, this one was much, much darker. In this other ending, John Connor is not saved from the mortal wound inflicted by the T-Rip. Instead, he dies. Then, knowing John's importance to the Resistance, instead of a heart transplant, they perform a skin transplant, grafting John's skin onto Marcus's endoskeleton. So to the world, John Connor will appear alive, but underneath, he is the part machine Marcus. But that's not all. Kate Connor and Kyle Reese then come into the room to see who they think is John. Then the machine wearing the skin of John Connor kills both Kate and Kyle, revealing Marcus was working for Skynet the whole time. It's fun to think about what this would do to the timeline, because with Kyle dead, wouldn't John not exist, and therefore none of these events would have transpired as they did? With Marcus killing Kyle, shouldn't he have immediately changed the past and erased his own present? Or would he have to alter future events to preserve the present, by sending an imposter Kyle Reese to the past to exactly play out the events of the original film, ensuring events proceed as necessary to this future? Or maybe intelligence, whether human or artificial, cannot perceive alterations to the timeline in their present. No matter what happens in the past, a consciousness will always proceed seamlessly in a continuous present as one branch of an infinitely expanding multiverse where all possible outcomes exist simultaneously. Something to think about. Speaking of other possible outcomes, let's talk about Terminator Genisys.
Do we have to?
This movie picks up in 2029, about 11 years after Terminator Salvation. Now, to be clear, this movie was not intended as a sequel to that movie and essentially ignores it. But if you imagine the events after Salvation proceed largely in accordance with the future Kyle Reese described to Sarah, namely with John bringing humanity to victory over Skynet and sending Kyle back in time, you can't imagine something like Salvation and Genisys exist in the same timeline. At least until that timeline changes drastically, which is what we see in this movie. Just like in the future Kyle Reese described back in 1984, we see John Connor lead the resistance in finding Skynet's time displacement equipment. He asks for a volunteer to go after the T-800 sent for his mother, and of course, Kyle is the one to go, after John makes him memorize the no fate message. But as Kyle gets pulled into the time stream, he sees a mysterious man attack John, and he experiences memories that never happened in a non-apocalyptic world. As a 13-year-old, he receives a gift called Genisys. He meets a young Sarah Connor who runs her finger along his palm saying, "You can do this. A straight line. You just go and you don't look back." And he stares into a mirror to recite a warning. Remember, Genisys is Skynet. When Genisys comes online, Judgment Day begins. You can kill Skynet before it's born. And it comes online October 2017. When he and the T-800 arrive in 1984, for a few minutes, things are just like what we saw back in the original movie. But things quickly change. First, Kyle Reese is attacked by a T-1000, similar to Terminator 2's villain, and the T-800 he was sent to fight is quickly dispatched by someone else, Sarah Connor, with help from a seemingly aged T-800, whom she calls Pops. So, what is happening here? It seems we've moved further along on the time slinky, and the loop has changed thanks to the moment when John was attacked in 2029. It's such a significant moment, it creates what's called a nexus point, which has the potential to create a drastically different timeline. Kyle was exposed to this nexus point while in the quantum field, and as a result, was able to experience memories of the potential alternate timeline. Those were the strange flashbacks he saw while time traveling. In this new timeline, Skynet sent a T-1000 to 1973 to try and kill Sarah Connor as a 9-year-old. But someone else, we don't know who, sent a T-800 to the same time period for her protection. The T-1000 killed Sarah's parents, but she and her T-800 successfully evaded it. In the 11 years that followed, the T-800 acted as Sarah's guardian, training her to become the fighter Kyle meets in 1984. He also became a sort of father figure, nicknamed Pops by Sarah, and thanks to his biological exterior, he shows signs of aging. The same T-1000 caught up with Sarah and the T-800 just as Kyle Reese arrived from the future. And finally, having set a trap for the liquid metal foe, she is able to avenge her parents. Whoever sent the T-800 back in time included in his files the knowledge of how to build a time machine. By the time Kyle arrives in 1984, the T-800 and Sarah have mostly finished its construction. The last part they need is a CPU chip from the future. Using Pop's chip would kill him, but thanks to the T-800 they just dispatched, they now have the chip they need. Sarah plans on heading to 1997 to stop Judgment Day. Her understanding from Pops is that's the year when Skynet goes online, just like in the first timeline we saw. But Kyle remembers the warning from his past self. Genesis is Skynet. You can kill Skynet before it's born. And he remembers the date, October 2017. Convinced the memories are real and that the timing of Judgment Day has changed, he insists they skip 1997 and head to 2017. Sarah is suspicious, until Kyle repeats the gesture she showed his 13-year-old self in his memory, running his finger along her palm, saying, "You can do this, a straight line. You just go and you don't look back." Kyle doesn't know what it means, but Sarah later shares that those were her father's last words. That's what he told Sarah, directing her to swim ashore as they were attacked by the T-1000 on a boat. Hearing those words from Kyle convinces her that those memories and the alternate timeline are real. So they head off to 2017. There, they find out what else has changed in the timeline. In this new reality, it's not Miles Dyson that creates Skynet, but his son, Daniel Dyson. He creates an AI-powered system named Genesis, something the public is very excited about. They'll be able to download the app and connect all their devices to it. But if activated, Genesis will quickly become self-aware, evolve, and turn into Skynet. Plus, where in the previous timeline, Skynet controlled our defense networks, in this timeline, Skynet will control everything, because everyone is downloading Genesis. Further in the future, Skynet takes physical form as a Terminator named Alex, the man who attacked John Connor in 2029. Once they got a hold of John, they turned him into a T-3000, a very advanced Terminator, though not as advanced as Alex, a T-5000 containing Skynet's AI consciousness. Now, this whole new timeline seems to have been caused by Alex's meddling in 2029, but he was birthed from Genesis, which only exists thanks to his actions which rebooted the timeline. So how could he have been there to cause all this in the first place? It's either another bootstrap paradox, or he's from another dimension. That's what co-writer Laita Kalogridis said when interviewed. That Alex came from another timeline to this one. So does that mean multiple timelines can exist simultaneously? Meaning there's more than one time slinky, and we can somehow travel between them? Apparently. Anyway, sent to the past, Evil John oversees the development of Genesis and protects it from potential threats, like Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor, who arrive in 2017 with the intention of destroying it. Together, Kyle, Sarah, and Pops manage to destroy the T-3000 John Connor and blow up Genesis. They also create Kyle's memories because without them, their victory would have been impossible. Sarah teaches young Kyle the straight line speech, and older Kyle imparts the warning about Genesis, telling his younger self to repeat it often. Though unbeknownst to them, under the rubble of Genesis, the system core survived, and Skynet has become self-aware. So, like in Terminator 3, they may not have actually stopped Judgment Day, but only delayed it again. So, obviously, a lot of time travel shenanigans in this movie. And, similar to Terminator Salvation, it does make you ponder what happens if you change the past in a way that would paradoxically alter your future. If T-3000 John Connor successfully killed Kyle and Sarah, wouldn't he immediately cease to exist since he'd never be born? Sarah asks this very question, and John's answer is that he believes that he'll continue to live anyway. They are exiles in time, able to exist without a true origin in the current timeline. Sounds like another paradox, until you remember the Slinky theory. With his parents dead, this John would still have a true origin. He was born to Sarah and Kyle in the previous loop. Going back in time just moved him forward on the Slinky to the next loop, where he's free to kill his parents if he wants to. That just means John won't be born in this time loop, but he was still born in the previous one. By the way, We never do learn just who sent Pops back to 1973. Perhaps it was some version of Sarah herself or Kyle Reese in some version of the future. Finally, we come to Terminator Dark Fate, where we see another potential timeline. Again, this was not intended as a sequel to Salvation or Genesis, but you could imagine a way for them to fit together. Perhaps moving further along on that slinky, after so many iterations of the same war, Skynet decides to change tactics. Instead of one T-800, they sent several to the past. After John and Sarah survived the events of Terminator 2, one of those T-800s succeeded and murdered John in front of his mother in 1998. John and Sarah did succeed in stopping 1997's Judgment Day and preventing Skynet's existence, but the T-800s that were sent back in time didn't just disappear. To borrow the T-3000's phrase, they stuck around like exiles in time, from a future that no longer exists. In the 22 years since John's death, Sarah Connor has dedicated her life to destroying those exile Terminators. She receives mysterious text messages with precise GPS coordinates, dates, and times where those Terminators arrive from the future. Each time, Sarah heads to those coordinates.
Swiffer Wet Jet prevents streaks and
she was I won't lie, she was pretty badass in the movie. It was cool seeing her.
And destroys the Terminator. She doesn't know who sends the texts, but everyone ends with the same two words: for John, as though the person sending them wants those Terminators killed in the boy's honor. Anyway, even though Sarah and John erased Skynet, just like Terminator 3 told us, humanity is always destined to build an AI that will grow to destroy us. In this new timeline, that AI is called Legion. Just like Skynet, it hunts humanity to the brink of extinction, and the few remaining humans fight each other for sparse resources. That is, until Danny Ramos shows them a better way. She teaches them to fight together. She teaches them that they don't have to lose to the machines, that there is no fate but what we make for ourselves. Finally, the Resistance is formed. In 2042, just like Skynet, Legion sends a machine to the past in order to kill a young Danny. This time, it's not a T-800, T-1000, or Terminatrix. It's a Rev-9. Like the TX, it consists of an endoskeleton covered in liquid metal. But unlike the TX, it has the ability to split its liquid metal and endoskeleton to fight as two separate entities. To combat the Rev-9, the Resistance sends a protector, Grace. She is human, but augmented with machinery, giving her at least a fighting chance against Terminators. As Grace struggles to protect Danny in present-day 2020, Sarah Connor comes to their rescue. She was able to find them thanks to another text alerting her of their arrival from the future. Soon, the trio are able to trace the coordinates of the mystery person who's been sending Sarah her texts. The coordinates match those that were given to Grace in the future. She was told that if needed, she could find an ally there. So, who is this mystery ally? It's none other than the T-800, the very same one that killed John. After killing the boy, he no longer had a purpose. With no mission, he simply integrated into human society. He gave himself a name, Carl, and even found a family, Alicia and her son,
He didn't know what else to
they
do.
needed
He's
protection,
like,
and
killed him,
seeking
and
purpose,
now I'm
Carl offered it. Caring for his new son gave him an appreciation for what he took away from Sarah. It gave him a conscience. And after seeing the fulfillment that comes with real purpose, he sought to also give Sarah a purpose, killing Terminators in John Connor's honor. So anytime he detected one of the shockwaves in time that occurs right before chronal displacement, he'd send those texts to Sarah. With his help, and as seems to be his fate, his sacrifice,
John.
Along with Grace's, they destroy the Rev-9, and Danny Ramos lives to lead humanity's resistance against Legion. And to do so, she'll need training, which she gets from the same woman who taught John, Sarah Connor. With her help, Danny will be ready for the future, and maybe she can even change it. This time, Danny is determined to prevent Grace from having to die for her. Will she succeed? Well, based on past experience, we're not really good at stopping future catastrophes altogether, but we are great at delaying them. And hey, maybe if we keep delaying Judgment Day, we'll always have a non-apocalyptic present where we can blissfully wait for a horrible future that is always a few years away, but never arrives.
She said, ah!
And that concludes our trip through the timeline of humanity's endless war against the machines. In other mediums, there are plenty of other branching timelines and interpretations of the material. There's the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV series, which picked up right after the events of Terminator 2. There's also a book series that continues from Terminator 2, taking things in a different direction, where John and Sarah team up with former CIA agent Dieter von Rossbach, who looks like the T-800 because its designs were apparently based on his appearance. Or you can check out the comics. One series picks up right after the events of Salvation. There are even comics where Superman fought Skynet, or one where the Terminator fought predators and aliens. So in theory, there's a universe where Dutch and the T-800 coexist. And I'm sure in the coming years, there's plenty more Terminator to come. And who knows, maybe one day this video gets a part 2. Until then, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more.
Why didn't
With
they
that,
just make,
thank you for watching.
Dutch from Predator, they should have just been like, we designed the T-800 after Dutch, since it's a shared universe, right? I don't know if canonically it's shared anymore. I know James Cameron, or was it Ridley Scott or James Cameron? One of them was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're not in the same universe. And I respect that. It's cool, but at the same time, you're like, okay, we have to draw a line somewhere. Like, enough. What the fuck happened to Mel Gibson? Well, I mean, he said some weird shit and then he went away. I think we all do that eventually. We say some stuff and everybody's like, hey man,
what?
Hey man, I know you're getting up there in years, but you can't just say whatever the fuck you want. And, you know, then they go away. What Bones and All is really about? A very handsome man? I don't know. Another very handsome man? Wakanda forever. I'm not going to do the accent. I was wondering, y'all like Blade Runner? I love Blade Runner. Kind of feel like I'm 2:55. Not even tired. Look at these eyes. I'm just I'm not tired. I'm just like bleh. Ooh, hot take. Multiverse of Madness was great. Love that movie. Sam Raimi is king. Absolutely hate Wanda. I just hate Wanda. Like, I feel like they made her like really baby crazy. Like, I don't want to sound like that, but they made her like she's like my kids, and you're like, they weren't your kids, you know what I mean? You didn't have them in real life, you know, and they kind of made her crazy. Like, she just like lost her shit, and it was, I could not stand her as a villain, and I guess that's what made her a really good antagonist, right? Is that I find like the villains that are annoying as shit, like you're like, can we fucking kill this guy already? I guess they're doing their job, right? Like, the actor did their job. Like, Elizabeth Olsen she's great. She's great. But yeah, I think she did the annoying villain thing correctly. Just like in something relatable, please. I don't know. A good villain is annoying as hell because you want them to die because they're causing disruption to the hero or protagonist's life. So you're like, die, you son of a bitch. But like the Carnage movie. This was cool. I'm sorry, like that movie sucked. I didn't care. I didn't care. Like Woody Harrelson can live or die. I don't care. He wasn't annoying. He was just boring to me. Oh, Raised by Wolves. I need to finish this this show. The Matrix Resurrections. Welcome to the That movie was weird. It's a weird movie. I didn't hate it. Didn't love it. I don't know. The Expanse. I gotta finish this, but it's too much to watch. The Servant was good. I can't tell you what it was about. I'll be honest. I just saw Rupert Grint, Ronald Weasley. And I said, I need to watch that, chap. So I watched it, enjoyed it. I don't know if I finished the second season. I don't think I did. I should do my own like breakdowns, right? I should do like the things that I care about, like The Mandalorian. Oh, I could talk about that forever. Book of Boba Fett. The Solo movie. I love the Solo movie. So many people hate that movie. Was it great? No, I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. Was it fun? Yes, it was very fun. It was very fun. It wasn't the best Star Wars movie out there. It wasn't great, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. Got to see young Han Solo and young Chewbacca. It was wonderful. I don't know. The characters in it were stupid. Didn't enjoy them really. The villain was like, you knew he was a psychopath, but he was like constantly telling you he was a psychopath, and you were like, don't care. I don't care. You're not scary. Beckett, right? Beckett, something like that. Some Beckett or something. Amelia Clark was good though, as Han's Kira, right? As Han's love interest. That was really fun. I really enjoyed their screw it. I wanted to do these. I wanted to watch these. We'll do that. Screw it. I'll give this guy a sub. Whatever. Solo trailer. I can't type with this glove. Such a great movie. Let's see that teaser trailer. Oof. How can you not love that?
I've been running scams on the street since I was 10.
Oh, he's a very handsome guy.
I was kicked out of the flight academy for having a mind of my own. I'm gonna be a pilot.
When I go back to see it, he does sound like
best in the galaxy.
A young Harrison. Like he emulates it.
Hey kid, I'm putting together a crew.
Maybe not like really what Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford always sounded like Harrison Ford.
You in?
That's yes.
But he looks like he has. Like if you don't look too long,
I might be
like,
the only person.
Maybe Clark is
What you really are.
What's that?
That cocky smile. I love that Han Solo smile. Scoundrel.
Get ready.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
Memorial Day. Oh man, I gotta like give it a like. I wish we could go back and appreciate this movie. You know what I mean? It was wonderful to me. This film is criminally underrated. I like this trailer more than the other one. Sound design in the first 5 seconds is amazing. Yeah, when he's clicking the buttons on the Falcon, he's like click, click, click. Okay, I was a little harsh. I loved the movie. It was fun. I really loved the movie. It's just for me personally as a Star Wars fan, it's like Han Solo and Chewie are my boys. I love Princess Leia. She is first crush as a kid. I was like 7 years old, and I'm like, don't know who she is, but that's Princess Leia, and I'm in love. And then, you know, Luke was cool, but it felt like we were all Luke. You know what I mean? Like we were all whiny little kids that were like, I want to leave. I hate my life. My uncle is so controlling. You know, like Luke was cool, but Luke was like every kid at that age. Just saying something because he was like 18 and sounded like a 7-year-old, right? But like I loved Han and Chewie first time I saw the movie, you know, it wasn't like I wasn't like let's sit down and watch the movie. It was more like Corellia, the shipping yards. It was more like my dad called me and he's like, hey, let's, you know, come watch this weird movie, whatever. And I was like, sweet, father-son time, let's do it. And I just see Han sitting there with Chewie.
Or is it something else?
They're just sitting there at the cantina talking to some old dude and some kid. And I was just like, what? Why are they the coolest two cowboys I've ever seen? You know, right? Because Han's a cowboy. Chewie's more of a he's more than a sidekick. Chewie's his brother. You know, that's his brother. They don't go anywhere without each other. And they fight like brothers. You know, like they're. I just love them.
I heard a story about you. I was wondering if it's true.
And then I got the VHS for that movie.
It's true.
I remember the copy I had was crumbling, was falling apart, and what would oh god, look at when it was white. You saw that? Where's that? Let me go back. No, I skipped too far. Oh, that Falcon. Ugh. I love she's so clean. Ugh. That ship too, like that ship. I don't have it on the internet, but I had like the little micro machines growing up, and as I got older, I broke it in half, and I made it into a keychain. So it's just a Millennium Falcon keychain that I love. It's my thing. It's mine. I love it. You know, but okay. So I loved Solo. It was similar to Legends, you know, like the whole how in Legends Han was the same. He joined the Imperial Academy, the Navy, to become a pilot, to get away from Corellia. I think in the EU he was like royalty too or something ridiculous. The EU is great. I should go into the EU on my own because I love talking about this stuff. Anyways, so the EU is not the EU. So he joins the military, the Navy, and because he just has that brash street kid mentality and attitude, you know, he washes out, ends up a mud scuffer on Mimban. That you actually see that planet. That's why it's so exciting because it all ties together. I mean, you see Mimban in the Clone Wars, and it's so great when they make these callbacks to the prequels. You see, this is why you should have a script, because I'm like jumping everywhere because I'm so excited because I love talking about this stuff. This is like the stuff I love to enjoy with people. Like it's not about the hate or the I don't like this, I hate that, that's stupid. It's more like I love certain things. I know people love certain things, and it's all okay because everyone can love Star Wars their own way. I don't own it. Y'all don't own it. Disney doesn't own it. We own it, right? As the fans, it's ours. It's together. It's ours. But it's also just enjoy it. If you don't like the prequels, all right, I understand. But I grew up with them. I grew up with the original trilogy, and I grew up with Anakin's story too. Force Awakens, great movie. I was there, Christmas Day, I think. So excited. I was in tears. Like, I was so excited. I remember at the time I had a group of friends with me and my cousin, and we jumped in my old car and we drove to the movies. I didn't care. I'm like, we're going. I don't care. I want to experience this with friends. We're going. And I was in tears. I was so happy because the last Star Wars movie I saw, and I'll be honest, it wasn't even the Clone Wars movie that George released in like 2000. What was it? I forgot. But I did not see it, right? I didn't watch it because let's be honest, some of us didn't care, right? It's what it was. We were like, oh, cool, Star Wars. Clone Wars cartoon. I don't know why, right? There was like a weird stigma for cartoons, and I didn't see it. I thought it looked weird, blah blah blah. But I'll get to that later. So I hadn't seen a Star Wars film since, like a lot of us, 2005 with Revenge of the Sith, and that for me is my that for me is my favorite Star Wars movie. It's just wonderful to me. I have the best memories with it. It makes me emotional. It's like, the tragic hero that you love, and he's gonna fail every time. Every time you watch it, he's gonna fail, and you're always hoping that he'll make the right choice, that he won't interfere with Mace, that he'll let Mace do what he has to with the Emperor, and that everything works out. Maybe he gets expelled because he's secretly married, right? But it's like, I don't know. I love those movies. I love The Force Awakens, and then someone told me, like, oh, it's a lot like A New Hope. It's like they're doing a soft reboot. And that hit me. Made me real sad. It did. Because then I rewatched it and I realized, oh, hey guys, it's A New Hope 2.0, And I still think it's great. It's a beautiful movie. Oscar Isaacs is wonderful. Like, to introduce him as one of the first characters you see. Great actor. I loved it. BB-8 was great. I loved seeing BB-8. Adorable. And then Kylo Ren. Okay, you have to be honest. The first iteration of Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, you were like, who is this kid? Why is he so angry? Why is he a douche? Oh, he's, immediately he's Vader's kin, Vader's offspring. So you're like thinking, oh man, did they take ideas from the expanded universe books and all that, and they made, Han and Leia's son is evil. Is it Jason Solo, right? Is it Jason? No, it was Ben Solo. So you're like, oh, okay. But anyways, I digress. With Solo, I thought it was great. They throw him on Mimban after he washes out of the Imperial Academy because he's a hot shot, and the Empire's about rules, structure. So they throw him as a grunt into the mud, and that's where he meets Beckett and his crew, and he becomes part of their heist and all that. Well, he meets Chewie there too. I'm sorry. He gets in trouble, and the Imperials throw him into this like prison cell, and there's a Wookiee down there, and obviously enslaved, and they team up to get out of there and stuff. And then he gets thrown in jail because Beckett tells the Imperial, because he's disguised as an Imperial, and then he tells them that Han is a deserter. He's a coward. Throw him in jail because he's wearing like a dead captain's uniform. So they didn't even question it. They're just like, of course. They threw Han in jail. Han gets out with Chewie. Apparently Han can speak Wookish. So that's cool. It was funny. I loved it. And he gets out. They meet Beckett. And he's like, screw you, dude. I'm coming with you. And then they go on and they do the heist, and it's a very dirty heist because there's some big kingpin, and then he sees Kira is working for this kingpin, and he's like, dude, that's my old girlfriend, like, that's, and turns out she's very happy there, and it was just one of those, they meet Lando, young Lando as well, and then he gets the Falcon from that. We see the legendary Sabacc game, the card game, the Sabacc game, and he gets the lucky dice that we see. Damn it. Anyways, I had a replica of the lucky Han's dice. I need to get another pair. It's for the car. I love those dice, the Sabacc dice. Oh, I loved those dice. Where is he? I'm just talking, but I have episode 4, my episode 4 celebration, Han Solo pop figure. I love this little guy. He's great. It's my pride and joy. I used to have more, but I love this little dude. I love the character. Han Solo is my favorite Star Wars character next to the Mandalorian, and Mandalorians are great. And Anakin. Okay, sorry, Anakin Skywalker. He's one of my favorites. But anyways, so we see what happens with that. He wins the Millennium Falcon from. Oh, I'm sorry. That's later. Oh, so stupid. He tries to win that game. He loses because Lando is a cheater. He has cards in his sleeve. So he loses. I forgot what he loses. But he's trying to hire him for the heist because they need to steal some coaxium, which is the hyperspace fuel. And they go to the mines of Kessel. They go to the Kessel mines to get the stuff. And when they get there to steal this stuff, because the heist that Han and Beckett's crew were trying to pull off, they were trying to steal coaxium from the Empire, and then this other like terrorist cell sabotaged them, and they lost it. And then the big kingpin guy's like, "Well, I'm gonna kill you." And then Han's like, "Wait, we can go to Kessel and get some unrefined coaxium." And he's like, "Good luck, because if you don't get it here in time, it will explode." So go ahead if you want. He's like, either way I win, you die. So Han's like, yeah, what, you know, Han Solo's this cocky man. So he's like, sure, kiss my ass, I'm gonna do it. And so he gets the help of Lando because he has the YT freighter, fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. At that time, she wasn't a hunk of junk. She was beautiful in white, as you see here. Beautiful ship. I think she was like right off the line too from Corellia, the shipping yards Corellia, Han's home planet. So, anyways, they go to Kessel and they steal the stuff. But the thing about the mines of Kessel is that they're run by slavers, and I'm sorry, I forgot their names, but they were characters from the Clone Wars that they, again, it's a callback, beautiful callback. I loved it, and they had them as the slavers there, and then they fight the slavers, they free the slaves, they lead a small rebellion. Chewie, you see some like little intimate moments with Chewie because some of the slaves were Wookiees. I think most of them were Wookiees, and I think Chewie knew the Wookiee, and so it was a little touching scene there. It was nice. Wookiees are amazing, by the way. I love Wookiees. Gunji or Gunji. There's like two ways to say it, but he's like one of the few Wookiees Jedi that we see from the Clone Wars, not from the new. What's it called? High Republic books. I know there's a Wookiee Jedi in there, but in Clone Wars there's Gunji. I call him Gunji, okay? And he has a beautiful green lightsaber, and it's made out of, I think it's made from the wood from Kashyyyk, from his home planet, and the wood is apparently like really, really, really like almost invulnerable, so it can hold all the housings for the lightsaber, so it's not gonna like burst into flames. So it's a beautiful wood lightsaber, beautiful, and it's green, and he survives the purge, the Order 66 purge. So that's wonderful. Anyways, I haven't seen that episode, so I don't want to find anything out yet. I just want to see it. But anyways, glad he's alive. I love Wookiees. I love Wookiees. So they help free the Wookiees from the mines of Kessel, and they get the coaxium. Another callback to the original movies, episode 5, I believe, when 3PO and R2 speak to the Millennium Falcon because they jack in to the computer and they speak to it, and apparently that computer, because Lando in the Solo movie has a droid companion. I think it's implied that she's like his lover or something. They're very close, which is understandable. In Star Wars, the artificial intelligence is very, well, it's super advanced, almost like the whole Ghost in the Machine kind of thing. I believe they have a semblance of a soul, especially R2-D2. Come on, you know, Chopper, BB-8. They have a semblance of a soul, something, a spark of life. That spark of life, they have it. Anyways, she gets Lando's droid. She gets hurt in the skirmish, freeing the slaves, and they hook her up to the Falcon, and then they end up having to transfer, I guess, her essence into the Falcon, so that Navicomputer or I think just the ship's like mainframe is the ship in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, that's 3PO and R2 talk to when they tell them, oh, the hyperdrive is inactive. Anyways, so it was a cool little callback. Those little things are little nods are wonderful. Or like how Han gets his I'm just gonna start forgetting things because I'm so excited. Is it the DL-44 or something? His blaster, his famous blaster, the big old piece that he has. It was a rifle, and in Beckett, you see him take it apart. Like he takes the muzzle off, and then he takes the stock off, and he gives it to Han, and it's basically a modified pistol it's a huge mother, and that's Han Solo's legendary pistol. And it's cool, so cool. In the movie, Chewie has, you can probably see it. Chewie has those goggles. Yeah, the goggles.
End this life for good.
Oh, the Falcon. Yeah, that's the droid. This is the droid. Yeah, see she looks like the droid from Power Rangers. I don't know if anyone knows the droid, the robot from Power Rangers. It's so great. Yeah, that's when they tried to steal the Coaxium the first time from the Empire.
Let me give you some advice. Assume everyone.
That's Kessel. That's Kira.
And you will never be disappointed.
Chewie and this.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Maybe brother, maybe cousin, something. Chewie.
190 years old?
Oh yeah, Chewie's very old. You look great. Punch it, Chewie. 190 years old. You look great. Alright, I can't do a Han Solo. I can't do a Harrison Ford. Harrison has a very unique voice. See, they're wearing goggles. No, I missed it. Chewie and his goggles. I loved it because in Star Wars Battlefront, the game, EA's, not the original, but EA's Battlefront 2, you could get the Chewie skin with the goggles, and then you can get the young Han Solo skin too, where he's all rugged. He looks great. It looks great. Wonderful skin. I'll give him that. And they even changed the voice, because you could be the older Han Solo with, the Harrison Ford voice, and then you could be the younger Aldrin Elrig. The actor's name is, I can't say it, but you could be him too, and it has his voice if you choose. Anyways, so then they get the Coaxium. They have to get out of there, but there's that giant tentacle monster that you see. You know what I mean? That you see in the trailer right here. That guy's a douche, but he sucks. There's Minban, Kira. You look great. The Empire. There you go. This giant tentacle monster. They live in the nebula around Kessel. That's why Kessel's. It's a sought after planet, but it's very hard to get to because of the monster beasts that are around it in the system. So, and then this scene is another callback to Episode 4. I get it. When your film is supported by callbacks throughout Star Wars history, they generally don't. It's not a good film, right? Generally, that's what we assume. If it's not a strong enough story without these constant, oh, remember this? Oh, remember that? Look at this nod here. I get it. Usually it's were you guys just tired? I get it. Sometimes maybe you just shouldn't make it, right? If you don't know what to write about, just don't make the movie. Don't hurt the character. Anyways, so this is the famous Kessel Run that Han Solo says in Episode 4 when you meet Han and Chewie in the cantina with Luke and Obi-Wan, and he's like, is it a fast ship? And Han's like, is it a fast ship? He's like, you never heard of the Millennium Falcon? And he's like, Obi-Wan's like, should I have? And he's like, it's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. I've outrun Imperial cruisers. And he's like, what'd you say? I've outrun Imperial cruisers. I'm talking about what? Blah blah blah. Something about the Carillion ships, or the gorilla ships, the massive ones that you see in the trailer too. The big motherships. I'm looking like a noob right now, just slipping from my mind. But so basically, and I won't get into a parsec. I used to know how to calculate a parsec. That's a real measurement of distance in space. It is difficult. I don't like it. But 12 parsecs, apparently to get out of the Kessel Run is like, what was it, like 14 or 16, something. And then Han's like, you know, I can do it in 12. And they're about to get eaten by this thing. I think they get sucked into a black hole almost. And then they put a little of the coaxium, the pure coaxium, which is basically nitrous, into the hyperdrive, and it. So that brings another, I guess, part that us finally seeing the Kessel Run was, I guess it made it cheap. And I'm not complaining. I am complaining, but I still loved it. But you know, when it's like a legend, and then you get the legend spoiled for you, you're like, oh. So that's how it happened. It was kind of lame. I liked it when it was just like you telling a campfire story, bragging about your achievements, right? I think it should have stayed that way, honestly. It's not like seeing Han win the Falcon in the Sabacc game. That's cool. I'm cool with that. But seeing Han do the Kessel Run, not because he's a good pilot, but because they had some nitrous in the back, or else they would have died. But Han is one of the best pilots in the galaxy. He rivals, in my opinion, he rivals Luke and Anakin. He's a very, very good pilot. And him and Chewie, top tier. If not the best. I mean, how throughout his career, he's evaded capture a lot. And when he is captured, he's generally able to talk his way out of really bad situations because he's a smoothie, right? It's Han Solo. Maybe it's the trusting smile, I don't know. But so they get away. They take the coaxium to the big pimping guy, but they try to pull a fast one because I think Beckett, Woody Harrelson's character, he's like, basically he's gonna kill him. He turns on Han and Chewie, and Han's like, nah. Something happens, I forgot. So they take the coaxium to the big guy, the big boss douchebag guy, Kira's boss, Han's girlfriend. Kira's boss, and then they try to pull a fast one on him, and then that terrorist cell called Enfys Nest, they show up. Basically, they give them the coaxium. They fight the guy, the big boss kingpin guy, the criminal lord, and I guess Kira. You find out Kira was actually answering to someone else. I'll get to that later. Han kills Beckett because he's like, basically that's the life, right? You get killed or you kill, whatever. It's not too. Oh, Lando leaves. He takes, because Han trashes the Falcon. That's why she gets so beat up. Because Han loves the Falcon, but he beats that old girl. It's just Han, right? That's the charm. That's his old hoopty, but she's a beautiful ship. You see why she's different too. She's a different ship. See that front piece right here? That's an escape pod, and they launch it into the monster to like push it back during the Kessel Run. You know, I spoke out of turn. The Kessel Run was cool. It was cool. I enjoyed it. I just remembered that. So you see why the Falcon has the two-prong like nose in the front, because they launched the escape pod to help them get away. So people complained about that. They were like, well, why the hell didn't Han just get another escape pod? Well, and you're just like, it's Han Solo, right? What does he need an escape pod for? It's Han. He just never got to it. He just didn't care enough. Blah blah blah. Whatever you want. I think Han just didn't care. Like, if you think of the character, I think Han was just like, whatever. I'm gonna go down with my ship. I'm not gonna run. He never runs. That's the thing about Han too. That's the thing that I love about him. He does not run away. Unless he has no other choice. Usually he will try to take it head on. And he does. He shows that in the movies too. Like in episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, when he's been with the rebellion for a couple years after episode 4, after they destroy the Death Star, even though he has a death mark, a bounty on his head, he stays because, again, he would rather fight. He believed in the cause, but then he just, like you said in the movie, he kind of got spooked because he saw. I think it was more he was putting his friends in danger because he was a marked man. I think he said Ord Mantell, the bounty hunters. I think that was one of the instances they ran into Boba Fett. So I think Han got worried. He got scared. He's like, I don't want my friends to get killed for me. I don't want innocent people to die because of me. Which is funny because he'll take Chewie with him, right? Like he'll take Chewie. I don't know. Maybe Chewie's just like, dude, I'm not leaving you. We'll die together. That's a good friend. But a better friend would be like, Chewie, stay away from me, right? And I think, so that's why I think in episode 5, he was like, okay, I can't do this. I tried, I fought, but it's too great a cost. I'm going to lose my friends over this. I'm going to lose the people I love, So I think that's why you see him about to leave, but things go south. And then, in Return of the Jedi, he's in Jabba's palace, and by then obviously he's like, well, I ran and I got caught anyway, so I'm all in. And you see that in Return of the Jedi. Like Han is like, he's all in. He's like, I'm good. I'm a rebel. You need me, I'm a general. And I love that. I just love that about Han. Like I just love that about Han. So you see him. And that's the thing, Han doesn't think he's a good man. He's a good man. He's had to do some hard things, And I love that about his character, because you see, he's a good man because he has Chewie with him. He loves Chewie. Lando's a piece of crap sometimes, but it's one of his best friends, right? That's a good friend of his. And in the movie, he loves Kira. Even after all that time, he finds her again because he promised her he would find her. That's the thing. When they got separated, and he promised he'd find her, and he loved her still. Well, the second he saw her, he was just in love with her again. Like So Han's a good man. I think he's a good person. He's a hero, but I think the things he's had to do make him feel like less than, and I love heroes like that they're not thumping their chests. Like, I think that's why I prefer him over Luke, because Luke, it's not that Luke is arrogant and cocky, it's just, he's a hero, he's a Jedi, he's a Skywalker, right? And Han is, especially from this movie, you see where he comes from. He was a street kid. He was basically raised on the streets by horrible aliens, and he had to fight to survive. He was, tooth and nail, just a kid from the slums, like what you would see in Game of Thrones, right? Those poor kids that just do what they have to survive, just to eat a day. That was him and Kira on Corellia, just running the streets of Corellia, just trying to survive. And that's the kind of hero, like, I like those kinds of heroes, because he's not constantly thumping himself on the chest, but eventually he does accept what he is. He's a good man. He loves Leia. He loves Luke. He loves Chewie. Chewie's his brother, And I think most importantly, he wants to live. He wants to live a good life. So you see that in, I think, Return of the Jedi. He finally, I think he accepts that he's a good man. He is, And I think not because of himself, because of the people in his life. He's a good man because of his family, basically. Family. But that's the kind of hero I love. he's above Luke for me. And even in the comics, in the expanded universe, Palpatine returns somehow. And Han kills the comic. Han kills Palpatine. It was wonderful. I'm like Sigma Chad Han Solo, you know, with that scoundrel smile, killed Palpatine with just oops. But anyways, so a bunch of stuff happens at the end of the movie. Enfys Nest turns out to be a bunch of kids, but they're good kids. They're just trying to provide for their people. So Han gives them the coaxium. Again, good person. He's a good man. He gives them the coaxium, and they go off. I think they were using the coaxium for their personal rebellion against the Empire. And he kills Beckett. I didn't like Beckett. I didn't care. I'm glad they killed him. It was like tying up loose ends, honestly. Just go away. Woody Harrelson, thank you, but it felt weird seeing you in that world. I don't know. Didn't fit. So him and Chewie stick around. Lando leaves with the broken Falcon. He's pissed at Han. He's like, I never want to see you again. I hate you. And he leaves. Takes the Falcon and he leaves. So Han goes to Kira. Basically, she's like, you know, I care about you still, but what we had is we're not kids anymore. So Han is like, cool. She leaves. She takes her old boss's ship. She leaves, and she gets a call from her actual boss, and you see that it's Darth Maul. And it's not just Darth Maul, it's Ray Park, original Darth Maul from The Phantom Menace. Voiced by Sam Witwer, the voice of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, which is wonderful. I love Sam Witwer. He is Darth Maul to me as much as Ray Park is. You know? It was great. It just felt like they used him though for a cameo. Again, another cameo to prop up the movie. Basically threatens Kira, and it felt forced because he's a hologram, right? You see him, you know it's Darth Maul. You're like, okay, whatever, boss. But he whips out his lightsaber and turns it on and like, oh, I'll get you. And you're like, would Darth Maul do that? I mean, he's Darth Maul. Would he have to flash his sword in a hologram? No. It doesn't mean anything. Well, oh, you're going to get me through the hologram. No. You know, Vader and Palpatine, they could force choke basically wherever in the galaxy they were through the hologram. They were powerful. They were the powerful. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Darth Maul just couldn't do that? Darth Maul's powerful. He's powerful. He's formidable on his own. But I didn't need the lightsaber flash. I think just seeing it on his hip would have been perfect enough. It's a threat. He's a threat. I don't need to see you turn your sword on. I know it's red. I know it's part original Darth Maul lightsaber, part Inquisitor lightsaber that he took from the Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels, blah blah blah. And they did include his prosthetic legs though, because remember Darth Maul got cut in half by Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace. So they do have the prosthetic legs, which is really cool. It was just cool to see him. But I think they did too much with him. He's a threat. That's it. You don't have to make him wave his wand around, right? But Kira's, you know, the intent was there. Kira's terrified of him, so she leaves. They never did anything with that. That kind of just died because nobody saw the movie. Everybody saw the movie after, like years after. Like nobody cared. It sucked. And it was because when The Last Jedi, you know, episode 8 came out, after Force Awakens, what was it they were saying? People were fatigued. People were pissed off at The Last Jedi, even though apparently The Last Jedi was getting amazing reviews and it was making a lot of money. And they're like, that's a success in our book. And it's like, yeah, look, I went to see it. Millions of people went to see it because it's Star Wars. It doesn't mean it was good. Okay? Let's just leave that there. And I didn't like that. Apparently Disney, I remember Disney said that people didn't like the movie. Huh. Has it really only been an hour? 2 hours? I thought it was like 3. Anyways, Disney was like, oh, because of the weird fan reaction to The Last Jedi, you know, nobody went to see Solo, so Solo, the fatigue from having, you know, a movie in Christmas, and then the movie, you know, Solo came out like, what was it, March or something? It was like right after almost, and they're like, people were fatigued with Star Wars. It came out too close to The Last Jedi. Nobody cared about it. Nobody wanted to see Han Solo. So they were like, it's a flop. We're not giving it more. No, there's no more. And people have been, you know, me included, like I wanted Solo too, you know. It was unfortunate. The movie was great. I enjoyed it because at the end, like I said, you see. You need to calm down, sir. In the end, you see Han goes back to find Lando, and he's like, you cheated. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he grabs his sleeve, pulls the cards out, and he's like, you cheated. The Falcon's mine. So he's like, okay, fine. They play another game of Sabacc, and Han wins fair and square. And Lando's like, I hate you. And then I think A New Hope happens like a few years after. So I understand why people were like, there's no point of the movie. There's literally no point of the movie. I get it. I understand. Believe me, I understand. I felt like that about episode 7, 8, and 9. Not my cup of tea. That's my opinion. It ends, for me, it ended at episode 6, Return of the Jedi. That was it. I love Mandalorian. I love the Book of Boba Fett. Whatever they make after, in between, whatever, Ahsoka. I love it. Wonderful. Mainly because Dave Filoni, George Lucas's protege, is doing it. And he listens to George. So that's why I love that. But the sequels, I just don't. I don't. Do not care for them. I won't talk about that. But yeah, Solo, wonderful movie, great fun. I think that's a. If I ever have a kid, that would be a fun movie. Like I'd be like, come, let's watch Solo. You know, I want to introduce you to Solo, to Han Solo's story, how he met Chewie, how he got the Falcon. That's what I would do. Because you best believe my kid will know about Star Wars and Star Trek and Lord of the Rings and you know, books like, you know, the book series, the Aragon books, Harry Potter, everything, anything and everything they want. They're going to learn as much as they can. I just want them to be cultured in sci-fi and fantasy. No, because I got into it so late in my life. Like I didn't really appreciate any of it until I had, I guess, my own mental faculties developed, I guess if you want to say It's interesting, right? You don't appreciate things as a kid, and then you get older and you're like, oh my god, I love this. Oh, I love this so much. And I do. I really do. It's something that has stuck with me since I was a kid, and I think it will always stick with me. It makes me happy. It makes me happy to talk about it. And yeah, okay, I'll talk about the sequels. There was cool stuff in it. Obviously, the visuals were beautiful. But just some of the character stories, the development of the characters, I wish Rey was like some secret Skywalker. I really do. I loved her emotional range. But it's like they wanted her to be like a young, angry Anakin, like a young, angry Anakin that was like asking why to the universe, why, Oh, it turns out you're a Palpatine. It's like, oh, that's why I'm so angry. It's like, oh, come on. Or just make her no one, like I wanted her to be, her and Finn, I wanted them to be the beginning of a new Jedi Order, like people that cared for the people of the galaxy so they could start over and be that shining symbol that the Jedi are supposed to be. Not bureaucrats, not keepers of the peace, like Mace Windu said. I wanted them to, I believed in them, in the Force. quickly. They're imbued with special abilities because of their bloodline, and they're just naturally gifted, and they learn everything quickly. And they're like, okay, well, but you see, I'm just a hypocrite, I guess. I'm a hypocrite because George was making it up as he went along. I think we've been unfair. Wow, I must be getting old. I think we've been unfair. Those of us old heads, of the old Star Wars heads, we've been unfair. George was making it up as he went along too, okay? And he didn't have everything written out. He was making it up as he went along, especially the first 3, okay? He didn't know Vader was going to be Luke's father. That's why so many things in episode 4, you're like, what the hell were they talking about? In episode 5, he had more of a blueprint. By episode 6, he was like, okay, it's going to go boom, boom, boom. Even though he was like, Luke and Leia are brother and sister. And you're like, dude, you can't keep doing that. They kissed like twice. So I understand. It's hypocritical to judge the sequels when they basically gave Luke a glow up too, because his daddy was basically he's a lineage, he's a legacy of the Skywalker bloodline. Because then, yeah, you could say Rey, after they completed the trilogy and they were like, episode 9, they were like, she's a Palpatine, boom, solves everything. And you gotta be honest, that's pretty smart. Because then they can just go back and be like, that's why you call her a Mary Sue. No. She's imbued with that Force blood, that legacy, that lineage of her father, Palpatine, the most powerful Sith Lord to exist, right? Boom, explains everything. And yeah, it works, okay? If you're talking about a fantasy world, it works. She's powerful because of her father's blood. Because she's a clone, so she's directly from it. We're no strangers to clone. Boba Fett, Jango Fett, the entire clone army, we're no stranger to clones. And remember, the reason they cloned Jango was because he had those special skills. He was a natural born killer. And those acids passed on. If they cloned him, right? His clones would be the exact same. Powerful, ruthless, quick learners, strong men, right? Or Omega. Sorry, Omega exists now. Just a strong bloodline. And I think a lot of us have been hypocritical. It makes sense. Okay, fine. Yes, I relent. It's a stupid argument. I need to go back and watch them. I need to watch them. I need to give the sequels a good sit down. I think that would be healthy for me because I'm such a lover of Star Wars. I need to let things go, right? Let things go. Enjoy it for what it is. It's a wonderful series. I enjoy it. I accept it. I accept it now. Still think it's great. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. It wasn't her fault, Not like she planned to pass away, But it would have been so cool if we got more of Jedi Leia, Because Leia should have been a Jedi. She should have been a Jedi. And I think that's why it was so exciting to see Rey. It was exciting, I'm not trying to play on the female card and win brownie points. No, it was exciting to have the main protagonist be Rey. It was great. We've always had strong women. Yeah, maybe George sexualized them here and and Disney really didn't sexualize Rey. It was Rey. It was wonderful, right? It was just Rey. And I think it should have been that way. I think Disney got it right. Wow, I'm getting old. Your mind changes. Your mind changes when you get older. You either stay stubborn or you keep growing. You gotta keep growing. This would be on record. Sequel trilogies are alright in my book. I like them. I'm gonna go watch them again. Because Rian Johnson made The Last Jedi, which people hate. I hated. But he's made some really good movies, you know, like what is it? Looper. He made the Looper movie. It's a time paradox movie. It was cool. It was like, it reminded me of Terminator, honestly. Terminator meets like cyberpunk, you know. The Knives Out, brilliant movie. Makes Daniel Craig so cool and suave with his you know southern accent that he's able to perform, and he's a British man, and he's doing this North Carolina accent, and it's wonderful. and then Glass Onion. And Rian Johnson's all right, man, and I want to see what he does. Apparently his trilogy he's still making his Star Wars trilogy. I want to see what he does. I do. I have nothing against him. I think he did it right, because he said in the interview that he knew he wanted he wanted that reaction. Half the fan base would hate it, half the fan base would love it. And you think about it, it would have been like that anyway if he had done a completely, I guess you could say, fan service, made by a fan for the fans movie. You would have seen that split anyways. You would have seen. Let's be honest. People would have hated it. People would have loved it. It just would have happened. And I think what he made was it was good. It was good. I think they should have followed it. I wish JJ had followed it a little closer in Rise of Skywalker, but I think that was the fans' fault too. We screamed a little too loud into the void. I'm angry man babies. Should have just let them. They're the writers. They are the screenwriters. They're the producers, the directors. You know, what the heck do we know? What do we know? We're just fans, right? We've never written a script in our life. Chill out, bro. So that's kind of where I feel right now. Rise of Skywalker was great. I just wish I need to watch them again. I need to go back and watch them again. It's 4 a.m. I should try to sleep, because tomorrow's Monday. Gotta do some big people things, you know, big adult things. So thank you for hanging out. It was a wonderful time. Oh no, that looks like trash. Give me a second. I think it was fun, right? I had fun. I had fun just shooting the breeze with y'all, whoever's in here. I appreciate people coming in here, even if you're just lurking, even if you're just listening. I appreciate it. Don't know what this is. It's just me. I don't have a high-end computer. I barely have a high-end laptop. It's enough. And I just have fun with it, you know? I just have fun. And I like to talk. I'm an Aquarius. We like to talk about the things we're passionate about. So, thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. And, you know, may the force be with you. And I'm going to go reconsider some things.